Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a little orphan girl named Esther. One day, when Mordecai was on his way to visit Esther, he overheard two men planning to kill the king of Susa. He rushed to tell Queen Esther, who told the king, and the two men were thrown in jail. The story of how Mordecai saved the king was written in the king's book of great deeds, so that the king would remember to honor Mordecai. As time went on and the story had been forgotten, the king set a man named Haman to govern his kingdom and advise him in all matters. All of the guards in the palace and the people everywhere were to bow down to Haman. God had told his people, the Jews, that they were to bow down to no one but him. Mordecai loved God and refused to bow down to Haman when he would walk by. When Haman found out that Mordecai would not bow down to him, he was furious and hated all the Jews because of it. So Haman went to the king and tricked him by saying, "O king, there are these people who live in your kingdom who do not follow your laws. These people follow a different law, and you should not put up with them. Let me destroy them for you, O king." The king, not realizing that Queen Esther was Jewish, signed a decree saying that every Jew was to be killed. When the news of the decree reached Mordecai, he tore his clothes and wept. He rushed to bring the news to Queen Esther. Esther was very afraid when she heard, but there was nothing she could do to help. The king had a law saying that no one could come into his throne room unless they were invited, and Esther had not been invited in a long time. Mordecai encouraged her that maybe God had placed her in this position for such a time as this. So Esther agreed that she would go see the king. While this was happening, the king was having a hard time sleeping. He called for the book of great deeds to be brought in and read to him. He remembered that he had not yet honored Mordecai for saving his life. The king called Haman in and asked him what the king should do for someone that he wishes to honor. Haman, in his pride, thought that the king was talking about him. He told the king that he should put a robe that the king had worn on the man, and put him on a horse that the king had ridden, and put a crown on his head. Then the man should be led through the city square by a prince, saying, "This is what happens to a man that the king wishes to honor." This excited the king. He jumped out of bed and exclaimed that Haman should go and do everything that he had just said to do to Mordecai. What Haman had thought was going to be a great honor to him turned out to be the most humiliating moment of his life instead.